Or are you going to mention the Wolverine pipeline?
Yeah.
About clearing the trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove by there Saturday morning. I pulled over. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
All right, everyone, if we can stand for the pledge, please.
I had some.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everyone, welcome. Kathy, can you do a roll call, please?
You got it. Saban is absent. Bartleson.
Here.
Lobes.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Delogley.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
Karas.
Here.
Kostecki.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Right on. I see Pastor Ernest is in the house. Going to open us up in a prayer.
Please pray with me. Mighty Father, great King and Redeemer, first we say thank you for everything. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your unfailing love. And we ask you to lead and guide us. Your word says, in all thy ways acknowledge you, and you will direct thy path. We ask you to direct today, to lead, to give wisdom, give understanding, Father God. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Thanks, Ernest. All right. Going to do a proclamation tonight. We don't do many of these, but this one is for the 175th anniversary of the Ingham Canal, so they can't really pass that one up, right? All right, so, all right, the Ingham Canal opened in 1848. You guys are getting this cool history lesson in case you don't know. Hey, Anna. Anna Koval's here. Anna, now that I know Anna's here, I'll come over to the podium.
Okay. I'll take a photo.
So Anna Colville, what's your official title at the Heritage?
I'm the president of the Canal Corridor Association. We're the coordinating entity for the Illinois and Michigan Canal National Heritage Area. We're the first in the country, and there are now 62 of them, heritage areas.
Yeah,
So,
Lockport was a pioneer.
yep.
And Anna's got, you get that place down in LaSalle, right, where you can take boat rides and stuff, so.
We have a canal boat in LaSalle at the western terminus of the canal, pulled by a mule. For 6 months out of the year, you can come down and experience what it was like when the canal opened 175 years ago in 1848. We're about 6 weeks out. The official opening was April 10th.
And the mule boy who pulls the mules cusses and swears to make it very authentic, just like it was. All right, so here's the proclamation. The Ingham Canal opened in 1848 to connect the American heartland to New York Harbor in the east and New Orleans in the south by water, thereby extending the Great Lakes to the Mississippi River. This water highway became an important transportation corridor, enhancing commerce trading. It brought people and capital to Illinois and was instrumental in the development of the city of Lockport and Will County along its waterway. So whereas the Ingham Canal, upon completion, linked the Illinois River with Lake Michigan, finalizing the all-water route from New York to New Orleans and establishing a water highway to the west, and whereas the 96-mile Ingham Canal ushered in a new era in trade and travel and set the stage for Illinois to become our nation's most populous inland empire and home to the nation's greatest inland port. And whereas the Ingham Canal gave birth to the growth of the Illinois cities of Chicago, Lamont, Lockport, Seneca, Channahon, Utica, Joliet, Ottawa, Morris, LaSalle, Peru. And whereas the Canal Commissioner, William Gooding, designated Lockport as the site of the headquarters of the Canal Commission due to Lockport's location being 40 foot higher than Joliet and offered great potential for water power, leading Lockport to being a city with great economic prowess. Whereas the Illinois and Michigan Canal was designated as a National Historic Landmark in 1963 and our nation's first National Heritage Area in 1984, and the Canal Corridor Association designated the coordinating entity for the Illinois and Michigan Canal National Heritage Area in 2006, and the city of Lockport is within its boundary designated by the U.S. Congress. Whereas today visitors, residents, and school children can visit the Illinois and Michigan Canal National Heritage Area from Chicago to Peru and enjoy the historic, cultural, natural resources, including many trails, prairies, historic canal towns, museums, attractions, and festivals. So therefore, I, Stephen Streit, Mayor of the City of Lockport, do affirm commitment to commemorate the 175th anniversary of the opening of the Ingham Canal and to promote the Illinois and Michigan Canal National Heritage Area as we join others in celebrating its 175th anniversary by declaring April 2023 to April 2024 as the year of the I&M Canal. So I witness, therefore, set my hand to this first day of March in the year of our Lord 2023 for the independence of the United States of America, 247. Right on. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you so much.
Anna, can you send it to me, like, so I can copy and paste it into some social media posts? I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for coming all the way out.
Thank you.
I should have, right? Yes. So yeah, so next we're gonna talk about the Lockport High School bowling team. My goodness, you guys, when you found out you were asked to come back, did some of you just go, again? Really? Come on down, we're gonna talk, this will be fun. Where's the coach? Who's the coach? Oh, there she is. Congratulations again. Thank you. Well done. So how many of you girls were here before? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4? 5? Right on. So, sorry, I appreciate you coming out, thank you. It is fun to be able to have you guys all out here. I have hats, if you haven't gotten a hat before. Did you guys get hats? Who doesn't have a hat? All of the others? We'll get this to you in a second. Well, Coach, why don't you come up here and just tell us, give us the highlights. JR wanted a play-by-play.
Introduce them, please.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say they were undefeated in conference. Our record for the season was 36-1. We were conference champions, regional champions, which is how many? 8 in a row, I think. Ever since it started, so like 8 in a row we've won. It was our 10th sectional win in a row, and our 3rd state title in a row. It was a wild ride. Friday night, we found ourselves down 160 pins. We were in 3rd place, and we had a meeting that night, and we all spoke our minds on how we might fix things and do things better. And they came out on Saturday and shot a 31-31 for 3 games in the morning, which was really good, but it wasn't good enough. We still found ourselves 120 pins back. At the lunch break, we kind of talked again and said, we got to do this. We only have 3 games left. We knew we could do it, but everybody else had a well bad. So after the 4th game, we made up quite a bit of ground, and we found ourselves only 40 pins out. And after the 5th game, we only found ourselves out 17 pins.
It's still a nail biter.
It's really a nail biter. So all 3 teams that were in the hunt for first place were all bowling right next to each other. So I'm like, girls, we just have to get in their heads, and in their heads we got, I think. It did go down to the 10th frame, the last bowler, to make it. We had 3 girls with doubles going into the 10th frame, so I felt pretty good. But it did go down to the 10th. The bowler on Joliet West struck out, so it went down to the wire, and we found ourselves winning by 33 pins.
Yeah.
Did you guys do all that without the bumpers? I always need the bumpers.
They like the adversity. They like that. They make me nervous and give me a heart attack and gray hair.
Yes, yes.
But they like coming from behind, and they like giving it to them at the end.
How fun. Well, Coach, can you read these out and then
Yep.
and then just come on down when you get your certificate?
Paige Matasic.
Congratulations, Paige. Well done.
Cassie Contos.
Yes.
Morgan Lacossi, and Morgan was also All-State 2nd place.
Right on.
Maddie Lave.
Maddie.
I believe Maddie had a 300 this year, right?
Yes, she did.
That's incredible.
Yeah. That was our last home meet of the season. She had a 300.
Now, when I was a kid, I had a teacher told me, and I'm positive it's not true, but that they said that any bowling alley in America, if you get your first 3 strikes, and you tell them at the front that you've done this, if you you have to tell them after 3 rounds that if you finish with a 300, you get $1,000. Total BS, right? Because I've believed that my whole life. All right, now I know.
Maybe back in the day when they weren't so hard. Now they're easy, you know? They're easier. They were hard to come by back then. Abby Miller. And Abby was also All-State 12th place. Lauren Lane. Taylor Lane.
Sisters, yeah.
Sisters, yes. Katie Contos. Cece Gilbert. And Brooke Stroud.
Super fun. Oh, da 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 da. So is there a captain on the team? Is there like a captain?
Just
or-
the seniors.
The seniors, all right. Because I brought the ball out, man.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought you didn't have any
No,
more.
no, I still got it. So I had a. You guys remember Lockport with the bowling? What do we call that bowling alley down on State?
Lockport Lanes.
Yeah, remember when it burned down? I went through the rubble and I retrieved this. So I've had it, and then last time when they won, I had them all sign it. So now, whoever didn't sign the ball, has got to sign the ball. So I got the Sharpie marker here. All right. So who didn't sign? Oh, yeah. Here, can one of you guys hold it who has signed, because I got other things to hang out. Yeah, it's the same one. Will you get the right one? All right, certificates are fine, but we don't know about those. But hats are cool. Who didn't get a hat last time? Hat? Lockport hat?
So we actually have a gift for you.
Oh, look at that! How fun!
So he can bowl now in his office.
You know how fun that office is.
Yeah.
So now you can bowl in your office.
This is hilarious. Yes!
So there's one from last year and from this year, all the girls signed,
That's really sweet. Thank you so much.
and a picture.
How fun.
he's
I
got-
love it. Yeah, I'll definitely set these up in the office. Can you get a picture of the two? Oh, yeah. Please. Well, thanks, parents. Who are all the parents? Yeah. Well, nice. So I can watch the nail biter. Is everybody there? Yeah, that would have been nerve-wracking, man. All right, everybody done? staff.
Room gets lighter.
All righty, me friends. So,
They matched the ball.
first thing we got on the agenda is some budget amendments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We did a budget amendment back in...
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. JR reminded me. Liaison reports. I'm sorry. Has anybody got anything going on? My apologies.
I do. Anybody else?
I do. I'll go after you.
Okay, okay. Two things. It is astronomical spring, and just want to remind you that at your door is a service that we can use to pick up recyclables, and Simple Recycle is for clothing, and it's really pretty easy. So just a reminder, we do have those out there. The other thing that Joanne and I, on the 21st, we met Lockport and Bloom, and the people that are on the committee, oh, they're so smart. It makes my job really easy. I think this is going on really well. Hopefully, we keep the momentum. It looks like we're going to put, hopefully, a big landscaping project at the corner of what it would be Washington and 9th with native plantings. That's it. That's all I
Super
got.
good. Thanks, Christina. Thanks for all your hard work on that. And then JR had something.
I have a few things. First of all, it is construction season. It'll get started next week. Austin Tyler will start taking material on our Madison Street, 16th Street, Lawrence water main project. So that will be starting. Also, I wanted to bring up that Gallagher Asphalt will probably be starting late this month. They have a pre-con scheduled for about 2 or 3 weeks from now, but they're going to get started on 9th Street. And I wanted to bring this up because IDOT bid out a job with 9th Street. They will be repaving this project from downtown all the way out to, I believe, Reed Street. Lockport, the city of Lockport, will be going back over these same streets the following year doing a channelization program. So I don't want people to think, what the heck are we doing? We just did this project. So I want Brent maybe to take a second or two to tell us the difference between what Gallagher Asphalt is going to be performing this year compared to what the city of Lockport will be doing next year.
Thank you, JR. So as you mentioned, it's not ideal, and I know just like all of the the residents, it gets frustrating to see the same thing done twice. So the good news is they were planning to resurface the entirety of Illinois 9. They were going to start on Hamilton, and they were going to run right through Reed. We reminded them that we had a job, and that job was going to be done the following year. So thankfully, they did take that work out. So just as JR mentioned, they will be starting on Hamilton. They will go east up to Lincoln. Lincoln over to just short of Reed, they will stop, and then they will finish off with just a smidge of the eastern edge of Illinois 9 over near Reed. Next year we will come in, hopefully tail end of next year we will come in and we will start doing our widening project. So essentially what we're going to do from Lincoln all the way over to near Reed is create a third lane, so a center turn lane. It'll be a bidirectional left turn. There's a number of access points along 9th Street in that section of town. It's difficult to maneuver through that area and not have to be worrying about either people turning in or out. And what our project is going to do is going to alleviate that concern. So that divided center lane will provide access to each and every entrance along there. It will also improve our stormwater in the area. I'm sure that people see the puddles and the shoulders damaged in that area. Those will all be improved. In addition, we're going to install new water main. So we're taking the opportunity to do this once. So as I mentioned when I started talking here, feels like 5 minutes ago, sorry, that we do not want to do this more than once. So we've done everything we possibly can to make sure our limits are clear. We're not going to be tearing up what IDOT is doing this year and vice versa. We're not going to go, they're not going to go through and then we're not going to tear up what they did. So, so essentially, like I said, it'll be a 2-year project and it'll basically be from Hamilton all the way to Reed. It'll get paved, it'll just be done in 2 years.
Thanks, Brent.
Yep.
And my final thing I wanted to mention, if you live in the second ward, you may have noticed over on 151st Street and Farrell, you've been seeing a lot of trees cleared out in that area. That is not the city of Lockport. That is Wolverine Pipeline is working on a project so that they can view their pipeline easement from the sky. I wanted to mention this because I've had a couple people call me or talk to me and say how wonderful it's been to deal with Wolverine, that they did a nice job, that they called them and said, what's going on? The gentleman said, I've been working on this project for 4 to 5 years and was very thorough with them and explained the whole project. I think Ben might add a little bit more. I do know Wolverine also met with almost anybody that was involved in that project, or at least tried to, and there is the potential, talking to Pat, that you can actually get some trees replaced afterwards. So if Ben, you want to just add a little bit more about Wolverine, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, the mayor and I and Brent met with Wolverine because we were first provided notice that they were going to be clearing trees, and we're kind of a tree preservation city. But, you know, this was a situation where there was private trees put into an easement that probably shouldn't have been there, 20 years ago, and now they were quite large and needed to be removed. And we wanted to make sure that they were reaching out to residents, so I appreciate hearing the fact that you're hearing that feedback, because sometimes they talk to the mayor and I, and then we get lip service. We don't know for sure, so that's good to hear. But they've been a pretty good company to work with, and at the end of the day, there's a federal mandate for them to clear their easements, and they've got 10 feet of either pipe down there that they would need to clear. So I haven't gotten any complaint calls. They do seem like the homeowners are getting contacted. So I think some will probably want to put fences back in, because they had so many trees, you didn't really see their backyard, and now for privacy, they probably want to do some fences. But other than that, I think, if they offer to put some trees on their private property instead of the easements, I think it's great.
Thanks, and that's all I had.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, JR. Thanks for bringing that up.
I just wanted to quickly bounce off the Public Works discussion. I just wanted to reaffirm that because of some residents that had emailed me, and I talked to you, Brent, in Ward 1, Karen Springs will have the resurfacing done between May and July of this year.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
And the one item I have, Mayor and members of the council, is it's the Lockport Restaurant Week is going on through March 12th. You can go to eatlockport.com to find out information about 15 to 20 restaurants are offering special offerings and discounts. It's been a nice program at this time of the year for them. It kind of gets slow. We've been doing this for about 3 years in a row now. It seems to be pretty successful, and everybody's participating from tall grass to Nicky Zero. So whatever your palate is, it's not just downtown, it's also Coombs Corner and even Dairy Queen, right? So, right. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thanks, everyone. If there's nothing else, then, all right, we'll jump on into finance. What do you got, Lisa?
Yes, thank you. We have a secondary budget amendment. We did one back in December, if you remember, and then noticed that there were a couple of other things that we needed to do a budget amendment for. We want to transfer $4 million from the general fund to the capital projects fund. So you'll see that listed twice for both funds. And then also an additional $77,000 to the TIF for the additional money that we were sending to the 1000 South State Street for their fire repairs. So we will need this as an action item since we need a supermajority to be able to vote. Any questions?
All right, we'll put it down for action.
Thank you.
Okay, what do you got, Lance? Text amendment?
This is a text amendment related to the distance from swimming pools to sheds. Currently, we have sheds are the only item in our code that have this 10-foot distance, and we've had some difficulties with submittals, in particular as swimming pools have become more popular through COVID and other times where it has precluded somebody from putting a swimming pool in because of that distance. We are recommending that it be reduced to 6 feet to be more in line with our fence, our property line, all the other setbacks that we currently have for those swimming pools. So this is related to ordinance 23-006 and requesting consent or action.
Any questions? Sounds like we're good with consent then? All right. And then the gas station, 151st.
Thank you. This is a gas station with a convenience store at the northeast corner of 151st Street and Archer Avenue. It's a Plan Zoning Commission case 2022-020. The resolution before you tonight is 23-017. Subject property is currently zoned C3 Highway Commercial and is impressed with a special use permit to allow for the existing mobile home park. The property is approximately 1.82 acres in lot area and is located at the northeast corner of Archer and 151st Street. The applicant is seeking approval of a concept plan for a gas station development prior to submitting formal development plans for final development plan. A fuel station is classified as a special use within the C3 zoning district in the city's permitted use table of the zoning ordinance and is located at one of the pre-approved intersections for a gas station. Site plan illustrates a 4,000 square foot proposed commercial building with a convenience store and a fuel station with fuel pumps, primarily for passenger vehicles, with an overhead canopy on the northwest portion of the site, and then a truck drive with truck fuel pumps and an overhead canopy primarily servicing landscape trucks and contractors on the northeast portion of the property. Detention basins provided along the south property line adjacent to 151st Street, labeled detention on your screen. Access to 151st Street, which is within the City of Lockport's Public Works jurisdiction, will be a full access at the southeast corner of the site. Parking is provided northwest and northeast of the convenience store. Trucks will exit west only from the 151st Street entrance and exit, and the weight limit restriction currently in place will be increased only for the portion of 151st Street west of that egress point. Case was heard at the February 14th, 2023 Plan Zoning Commission meeting. At the meeting, members of the public addressed the commission related to some concerns that they had about the proposal, which included lighting, how that would impact the neighbors, the desire for a fence barrier between the north property line and the north neighbors, the increase in traffic, potential hazards to existing private wells on adjacent property, proximity of the Archer ingress-egress to a neighboring driveway, hours of operation, and whether residents could or would be required to tap onto water and sewer utilities brought to the area because of this project. The applicant responded that he would work with both city staff and the adjoining neighbors on finding solutions to the various issues through the final development plan process. On your screen is the proposed building. This particular owner also owns the gas station that is north of I-355 on Archer. It was recently constructed, I think, about 2 years ago. It's the one with the ginormous retaining wall that goes around its north and west sides. Plan Zoning Commission at their February 14th, 2023 meeting recommended the following motion by a vote of 6-1. The applicant, or a motion to approve the concept plan for a fuel station subject to the following conditions: that the applicant acknowledges that staff has completed a general review only for the concept plan, and that a more detailed review will come later. Concept plan approvals are valid for 1 year from the date of approval. The fence on the north side of the property to be 8 feet with a 3-foot berm. General green space guidelines in accordance with the landscape plan be recommended as part of the final approval. Adjustment for the canopy to be lowered to 12.5 feet. Hours for operation will be limited to 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. The applicant has been very willing to work with us as we go through the process, both on landscaping, building, a lot of the yard components to it related to the residents' concerns, and we feel confident that we'll be able to accommodate many of those concerns as we go through the final development plan process. With that, I'll take any questions.
Make anything?
Yeah. How many trailers are on there currently?
trailers.
Yeah, on the property.
You're talking about
Mobile
the
homes,
the mobile
yeah.
homes.
I believe that there are, I don't know the exact number that are there. From what I understand, there are 7 that are occupied.
Okay,
Someone in the audience may be able to tell me a little bit closer than that, but I believe it's 7 are occupied.
okay, of those occupied, you're saying that the owner of the property is moving them to behind Jose and Joe's or whatever, to that
I would
area?
not say that the owner is moving them. The owner of the current mobile home park also owns the mobile home park behind the Joe and Josie's Lounge at 135th and Archer. What I understand is that they do have some lots that are available to be moved to, but I don't believe that the owner is actively moving those units there. That is still partially responsible for the owner themselves to get there.
Okay,
Those
so
are
are
private-
we
private-
kicking these people out?
Well,
What kind of impact does it have?
Yeah, I just don't understand why we're doing this. I mean, I know that we had a meeting, Lance, with everybody regarding housing, and 2 of the things that were discussed was senior housing, which we have something coming, and we also talked about young families and starter homes. Why can't these be modular homes in there? I just think that this would be a great opportunity to test this out. And I remember a gentleman talking about Pilsen, how they went ahead and, was it Pilsen? How they went ahead in the city and had those modular homes and set them up. I think this is a perfect opportunity for that. Go put a gas station somewhere else. I just really think this has, oh, well, you're welcome. I really think that this is a travesty to what we're doing to those residents.
ultimately, I would say that this is a private property transaction between 2 people who want to sell the property and buy the property. The site is already, selected for a gas station in this location. We have an applicant that wants to put one there. So, I mean, from a use standpoint, it's a perfectly legal use to be located on this property. If somebody wanted to purchase it and do housing on it, that would obviously be something that could be considered.
Have we looked to see if there's some
Well,
developer?
we don't own the property. I mean, I think I understand what you're saying, but this is a location that this council has approved for a pre-application for a gas station just last year. If you remember, we came and presented this. And then they also have an annexation agreement with us that also has the ability to have a gas station. So they have kind of not 1 but 2 swings at the bat here to have a gas station on this corner. And again, when Lance speaks about it's a private issue, they could ask these people to relocate, or they could, if he decides, he could certainly help them. That's his discretion. But at the end of the day, it's a private matter. They could decide to have nothing there, and the mobile homes would still have to be relocated. So we don't usually get involved in that part of it, but I mean, we certainly can try to have conversations with the seller or the buyer, or if they want to, I can't spend their money, but if it pleases the council and they want some consideration for those relocations on those units, they certainly could entertain that, or you certainly could ask that.
If it were to be residential, the property would need to be rezoned in order to accommodate that.
It's not set up for residential.
Well, it's definitely set up now for mobile. They must get water and they must be able to flush their toilets. So I really don't see, I don't know. I just have a vision that it could be something so nice.
Well, I mean, the concept itself, and to Ben's point, we okayed that location to be a gas station, but.
But we okayed it in a group.
No, I understand.
We didn't take everyone individually.
You just hear me out. Here we go again with the slot machines and the liquor license. I mean, is every gas station in Lockport, we have to have slot machines and liquor? I mean, you go to the casino if you want to play slots. go get alcohol at a liquor store. If you want to build a gas station, build a gas station. Because frankly, it's getting old of every time someone comes in front of this council that wants to do a gas station, they got to throw in slot machines and liquor license and everything else.
There's no gaming on this one,
There's no gaming yet.
But it says slot machines in the,
in the drawing or something, but
no, not in the drawing, in the project narrative.
They wouldn't meet any classification that's available for video gaming. So this isn't large enough to be a truck stop under the Video Gaming Act. So currently, as written, our ordinance would not allow video gaming terminals at this location.
that might have been a print error from a different project, man. We apologize. We did talk about it with them months ago, but they've agreed and aren't asking for gaming. And they're not entitled to gaming.
So we can strike the slot machines?
Yeah.
And what about the
Yes.
liquor license?
Yeah, I didn't even see it on there.
There's a possibility of a liquor license, but again, this is a concept plan, and that's not up for review by this city council at this time.
Like, we do not have to approve a liquor license for it. You can just say, if you guys want to build a gas station, build a gas
I
station.
think that's what I'm saying, Mr. Mayor.
Two things. First, I noticed two things in the engineering review, and you had mentioned the 500 feet of 151st Street will be changing the weight classification. Is it an arbitrarial change, or is it a modification change where we have to do infrastructure enhancements to 151st?
A
Because if,
signage
right,
change,
so it's just a signage change, not an infrastructure change?
correct.
Okay, on that 500 feet. So are we putting additional wear and tear on that we didn't plan initially because of that weight restriction change? That's just my concern, is we're gonna have 500 feet of 151st that would have additional wear and tear. So that's just one area. Archer Avenue with turning off of Archer if I'm going southbound and I'm waiting to turn into the property, are there active isolated turn lanes off of Archer to that property, or would Archer Avenue traffic going southbound have to slow for any vehicle turning left going southbound on Archer? Well, Sonny smacked you, so you probably have to answer that one.
There is a left turn lane onto 151st. It is a little bit short.
No, I'm
of-
sorry, the left turn lane going southbound on Archer into the property.
Right.
Yeah.
So southbound onto 151st is there's an existing left turn lane. That turn lane is basically starting its full width at this entrance, so that would be something that IDOT would consider. City of Lockport, that roadway is not under our jurisdiction. That is, they would have to get a permit through IDOT, and that would be considered at that time.
Is that, if there's an approval of the concept, does IDOT then have to approve a elongated turn lane? Or could IDOT come back to us and say that the turn lane's been denied with the
IDOT can-
elongation?
IDOT has total authority on
Okay.
Archer.
All right, those are my two items. Thank you.
Would you explain the water comment you made about, I know water came up McGregor and went west on 151st Street. I don't believe it goes all the way to this site. How far away is water from this site? And it would be the responsibility of the owner, correct? Not Lockport's to get it there? Is that what I understood with your comment?
Yeah, so water currently, you're 100% right, it comes up McGregor and comes west. It does go to I think it goes to the lift station that's currently there now, which is about halfway west to east on the site, on the 151st Street side. Any extensions on the site and around the site, we do require that water lines be extended to the perimeter of any site that is being submitted for a development plan, so that would be at the developer's cost.
Thank you.
So does that mean the current residents there are on well and septic? Or do they,
I believe
It'd be
that they-
mixed. There's no sewer there, I'm pretty sure of
Right.
that.
Yes.
okay. Anything else?
They're just kind of a semi-related issue is that the developers working with the city, and we were going to be bringing a proposal to talk about some regional engineering in this area. The American Legion is across the street, and if this developer is bringing utilities to this corner, they were willing to do some work with their contractors to help us provide some additional utilities from this corner to the region, and in particular to the vets at the American Legion. So it's something we've been talking about. It's not part of the concept plan at this point. We would bring back basically a mini development agreement, much like we did with the Thorntons, where we could establish the design for them, and if their contractors do the work, they could be reimbursed with an incentive to take care of that, because the city currently doesn't have the utilities and funding to connect over there and do more of the region that we'd like to do. Just FYI.
Okay.
I have one more thing.
Please.
I can see that there's a few residents out there. Do you guys have like an eviction date, or how are you planning to leave?
We live across the street, so we're
If we could have.
Christina, let's do this. Nobody filled out comment cards, the official way to do it. Oh, come on, bring it up. Bring it up. I was going to handle it differently, but if you got a comment card, then please.
Is there any residents that live in there here tonight? Or just people across the street?
Okay. So, John, do this if you don't mind. When you have a comment card, come up to the podium. Just say who you are, where you're from, and we'll go from there. And we try to limit these to 5 minutes each.
There we go. All right, my name is John Rolling. I live at 925 West 151st Street, so I'm directly across the street from the retention pond there. Many of the things they brought up were our issues. Thought of pollution, us having wells, and worrying about the groundwater contamination, not so much from the tanks going in the ground, but for every time a car, takes that nozzle and goes back and forth, they're dropping gas on the ground. The cars going in there are dropping oil. The diesel stuff that's going in there for part of that whole diesel line, we know how much diesel stuff leaks. So all of that getting on the ground could eventually seep in. Now, I have well and sewer, or septic, and, we've been at this location for 24 years now. We've owned the property in the family since 1949. So we're longtime residents. And I'd like to be able to use my well for the rest of my life. I'm 52 years old, and I don't plan on dying until I'm 102. So for the next 50 years, I'd like to be able to drink my water. So that, in addition, all of the gas and stuff like that, we get a northerly breeze quite often, so the smells from that aren't going to be great either, I imagine. Traffic is something we're really worried about, and some of the stuff that you brought up with the turn lanes going across there, we see people fly up and down these roads all the time. Even one of the people at the zoning meeting said that Archer is a raceway, and I think that our start light is the light right there in front of our house. So the additional turning and stuff in there is going to back stuff up, and when you have trucks pulling trailers through there to go through that one area and come back and do that loop because they're getting their diesel, that's a large truck with a large trailer with large equipment on it trying to get out into that traffic. It's going to slow things down, we believe. We don't have any thoughts that this isn't going to go through. We think that you guys are going to pass it, but what we would like to see is to at least do some groundwater testing before and after, and then maybe, post that publicly once a year for at least 5 years, so we can see if our groundwater is getting contaminated. Some of our neighbors wanted to hook up to city water and sewer, and if you can accommodate that, I hope you can. I know myself and the neighbor directly to the right of me do not want that. We're very happy with our current situation. The other thing that I thought was curious is, by giving this particular developer this gas station, you give them monopoly power on the 355 Archer exit. You go north, it's their gas station. You go south, it's their gas station. What incentive do they have to have lower prices? Has anybody driven by there and looked at the prices on a daily basis? Because I have in the last 2 weeks since the zoning meeting. Today they were $3.69 when everything in Lockport was $3.47 or lower. And we're already kind of high in Lockport. I mean, most people I know get their gas at Costco or go to a different town to get it. So I don't know what the public interest is to adding a gas station, at that location that's going to, block up traffic, It's going to mess with all of us living there. It's going to displace people. It can pollute areas. And it's bringing something that I think if you asked normal Lockport residents, what do we need in Lockport? A gas station's not going to be in the top 10 of the list. Nobody wants that. And especially the people that are being displaced and being, put out on there. And so the question I want to ask you is, if this was in your neighborhood and they were ripping out a bunch of stuff right across your street, and you had to look out at the window every day at it for the rest of your life, how would you feel? Thank you.
Thanks, John. Just, I'll address a couple things. I'll speak on this, is that about a year or so ago, we too struggled with gas stations. The gas stations were just applying seemingly everywhere. And you're correct. It's always like, yes, I really have to have another gas station. The problem is we do live in America. And contrary to what some people think is that, we just get on the phone and call and get what we want. And, it's not the way it works. It's kind of like if it's allowable in the zoning, then unless there's some need for special uses or stuff, there's limited things we can actually do as a council, which is good in its sense that if you were trying to develop something, you wouldn't want it just to be denied arbitrarily because somebody didn't like it. That's why we have zoning laws, is to try to make it fair and equitable. We, decided that we could try to limit the amount of gas stations by coming up with reasonable reasons of places to restrict them, instead of inline gas stations, which if you go down Arch or if you go down State, you'll see a lot of old gas stations that were inline. Some of where they sell the Christmas trees used to be a gas station. Further down where Tessone was, there was a gas station. There's lots of gas stations that were in line. So as a council, we said, look, what are reasonable restrictions to put on without, getting into trouble by saying we're just not going to ever allow a gas station. So we came up with intersections, and this was one of those intersections. There's about 5 places left in Lockport that would qualify, considering with the zoning that they have, and that they make somewhat sense because they're at larger intersections and not in line. So that's how this place came. I do know that even when I was, a long time ago, Mayor Murphy, 2 mayors ago, it told me that there had always been planned for a gas station here. The Legion was expecting to get a water line run, so it's not new, but it doesn't mean that it has to happen. It's just, I'm saying it's been talked about for many, many years. I'd say the one struggle too with, to Christina's point, I too very concerned about, it was my first question, where all these residents go, right? And it's like, oh, they may be able to relocate. I don't even know if you can relocate some of those trailers, man. But in any case, some of the struggles are, we could say, wouldn't it be nice if we did this? But we're not developers. And unless there's a developer coming to us with it, it's not like we can tell the property owner, I want cool, hip, modular homes, right? It sounds good, and there's lots of things that I would love to do that at, but we just don't have that kind of authority. We're not property owners or developers, and if somebody were to come to us tomorrow and say, we'd like to do that, it'd be like, hey, that's great, and if the property owner wanted to sell them that kind of thing, that would be wonderful too. It would probably still displace the current people, but the struggle with doing things that seem like they'd be really fun is unless there's a developer and property owners that are working together, it's not a lot we can do. It's actually one of the reasons we bought the Chevron property, so we could actually go that direction, because otherwise we didn't. So those are the things I'll put out there as we mull this over the next 2 weeks. So obviously we'll put this on for action. I know we'll think about this. I think we need to digest it. I think we need to talk and come back in 2 weeks, and we'll see if there's support for a concept plan. Just so everyone here understands what a concept plan is, concept plans mean it's not final approval. It doesn't even mean that it will be approved. It just means that, okay, it fits within the zoning. These are all the concerns. If you can come back with your preliminary plans, then we will take it, so it enables the developer to say, okay, I'm going to spend the money to come up with serious engineering, look at groundwater, look at all these kinds of things, and they'll come back, and that might be some months from now. So approval of a concept plan, if it were to happen, just means we want to see what it looks like when you really take these things into consideration and iron out these details. After that goes through planning and zoning, and after that goes through, come on up. After that goes through, just bring it to me, man. After that goes through that, it would come back once again for final. So unless these guys were requesting to go to final, I don't think so.
What we have typically been asking applicants is, as opposed to going concept, preliminary, and final, which ultimately, just because of the meetings, takes 6 months worth of time, we've been asking to go from concept to final, because most of our reviews and the engineering that's involved in those preparation of those documents is like 90% final anyways.
Okay.
And it's easier for us at a staff level to be able to review final documents as opposed to like pull back 10% of our comments to just be at preliminary level.
So in all likelihood, even if it were to be approved in 2 weeks, it would still doesn't mean it's done. It just means now it has to come back for final approval and see if these things actually, if they meet the concerns and requirements.
Correct.
Okay.
So in 2 weeks, is that when we actually make some kind of decisions on what we are looking for the developer to move forward?
Just if we want to, if we allow a gas station.
It's a opportunity for us to say, like, Matt had a concern about, I don't want any packaged liquor. So if we talked about it and said, is that something we want to put forward? And if the developer says, I can't do it without packaged liquor, it might all fall apart, right?
Right,
So those are the kind of things that.
Okay,
we would
because
bring.
my concern is, there are some concerns that have been brought up that perhaps we have not talked about in the past, and these are serious things I think that we need to take into consideration. So I think it's important for the residents to bring, although we may not be able to do what you want us to do, because that property is what it is, and it's zoned for what it is, but at least if we know what your concerns are, perhaps then we can talk to the builder to take these things into consideration. You had talked about, testing the water, the ground and all that to make sure there aren't any leaks. I agree, that's very important. So those are, I think, things that we need to take into consideration, when we do discuss these things.
All right. Ray, do you got something? Again, we try to limit comments to 5 minutes. It's actually longer than you think, but.
Good evening. Ray and Glenda Gonzalez, 15027 South Archer. We are the neighbor to the north that butts up to the proposed site. My wife and I were here for the concept meeting on February 14th. My wife and I believe that this new business, we believe it will be beneficial to the area. Definitely more beneficial than that trailer park. I do have neighbors in that trailer park, mostly senior citizens. They are being displaced, but the trailer park is, to me, is unkempt and needs infrastructure work that doesn't seem to be happening. So I believe the gas station is a good idea. I've had conversation with Mr. Singh at the concept meeting. I feel confident that that my concerns with him were being heard. And my 3 concerns were the egress off of Archer Avenue, because my driveway will be right next to their entrance. And I understand that it's a state mandated highway, so you might not have say-so in that. My other concern was the fence, and Mr. Singh and I have talked about that already. And I feel confident that we can come to an understanding. And my only other concern is when I saw the concept plan today and we're talking about an 8-foot fence with a 2 to 3 foot berm on the backside, on the east line of the property as it goes back towards 151st Street. If there's not some kind of drainage put into place, a catch basin or something like that, all the water runoff that runs off of the surrounding homes and properties that are to the north and to the north, south, and east. All that water will cause a swale, cause water to be stagnant there. So I would hope that we could address that, in the development of this property. Other than that, we're fine.
All right, thank you. Kimberly, I see that you were concerned about the flooding. Is that basically the same question?
Yes, I own the property at 1004.
Okay.
Which is right next to the trailer park, which is the lowest point of all the neighbors. And I also own the house next door, so.
Okay.
all the flooding basically is going to end up in my backyard.
Okay.
Which is my septic field, and I have a basement, and I have tenants that live there.
Okay. If you want to come up, you could talk, but I think I understood because Mr. Gonzalez had talked about it. The number one thing is, and I think we're very sensitive to new development, if anything that gets done, the stormwater is actually one of the biggest components of these things these days, because this kind of stuff has happened many times over the years where development happens and stormwater is not fully taken into account. I am confident that our engineers and staff will be very thorough, making sure that there's no flooding. So if this goes forward, I'm confident in that. So we hear you. Okay. All right, folks. Just some housekeeping. It's a good thing. It's best to fill out the cards before the meeting if you can and give them, and so that way I kind of know who's coming up and it's a little more organized, so I appreciate that. But I imagine we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Mike, did, Yes, sir. Could I make a comment? I'll tell you what, why don't you come up during open comments, because I like I like doing it official, so we'll do it that way. It's in just a few minutes, so, okay. All right, thank you everyone for your thoughts and input. All right, what else we got? CD 3. Concept plan for a new
What's the
building?
action on that?
Oh, we're going to just do action.
Action?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so then we're going to move on to CD 3, concept plan for building in Prime.
Thank you. This is related to Resolution 23-018. It is a concept plan for a 122,600 square foot building for a future limited manufacturing and assembly use on lots 9, 10, and 11 in Prime Business Park. This was PZC case 2022-022. Ken Nienhaus, on behalf of Northern Builders, has submitted a concept plan for a 122,600 square foot building intended for future limited manufacturing and assembly, having a total of 12 loading bays consisting of 10 exterior docks and 2 at-grade loading bays for the property located on lots 9, 10, and 11 Prime Business Park. This is from our 2014 I-355 corridor master plan update. This is the use is consistent with what was in that master plan, so we feel it's consistent with our overall planning. This is an aerial photo showing lots 9, 10, and 11. I want to clarify something that was in the memo related to the term spec. It is spec only from the standpoint that there is no user for the concept plan. Their full intent is, if approved at a concept plan, they will wait until they have a user before submitting final development plans. So it's really only spec related to this concept plan, but it would come through with a specific user for final. The proposed building is intended to target limited manufacturing businesses. As said before, 2021 zoning code update allowed for limited manufacturing and assembly as a permitted use within the O2 district. However, the performance standards of the district will still apply, such as standards related to noise, vibration, particulate matter, toxic and noxious matter, odorous matter, and glare. The number of loading berths are limited within the O2 district to not more than 2 loading bays per building, originally intended to limit heavy truck use. The applicant is seeking a total of 12 loading bays. 10 are elevated or exterior or open docks that can accommodate semis, and 2 flush bays or drive-in loading bays for smaller trucks. This is consistent with the other recent developments in Prime Business Park. The project directly north of this, the B&B Foods, also was approved for that same number of docks. Site plan illustrates that building with 2 potential offices on the north side of the building on the east and west ends, and the 12 total bays on the south side. A parking lot has 133 spaces illustrated on the north, with 102 spaces that are possible for expansion and will be land banked in the beginning phases of it. This concept plan was reviewed at the February 14, 2023 Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. Commissioner Peters suggested that overflow parking along Prime Boulevard is still an issue and inquired about what legal mechanism the city has to enforce construction of land bank parking. If the council should desire it, they can include a motion that requires construction of the land bank parking when there is consistent employee and visitor parking occurring on Prime Boulevard on a majority of days in any single 4-week period. That's just an example of what a legal trigger could look like for your approval. Planning and Zoning Commission at their February 14th meeting recommended the following motion by a vote of 6-1. A motion to approve the concept plan for a 122,600 square foot building for limited manufacturing and assembly within the O2 General Office Zoning District, subject to the following conditions, our typical conditions. The applicant acknowledges that staff has completed a general review only of the concept plan, that a more detailed review will occur later. A special use permit is needed at the time of final development plans to allow the 10 exterior loading dock bays and 2 drive-in loading bays. Concept plan approvals are valid for 1 year from the date of approval. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Council, what you got?
The initial renderings of the exterior, I know you had sent them to me, and I saw them in our digital packet. I would want to reinforce, if this does move forward, that it more closely aligns with what we are developing along Prime. Because right now it seems like it's a solid mass warehouse and not more fitting into some of the developments we just approved for Prime and the ones that are directly across the street.
Yeah, we will continue to work with the applicant on the architecture. The rendering that was submitted was an example of the building that would be proposed there. There are some restrictions within the Prime Boulevard general covenants that are just based on the property owners association that would need to be considered as a part of this development for the architecture that will be integrated into the project as well.
Thank you.
Lance, I talked to you a little bit about this, but I just don't want the people in Lockport freaked out about warehousing. This is not warehousing, this is light manufacturing. And
correct.
Can you expand a little bit on?
Warehousing is not an allowed use in the O2 zoning district, so we consider warehousing products like you would see in ML Realty's Heritage Crossings or Prologis' Business Park, where goods are brought in, they are stored, and then pulled out. Any goods that would be brought in here would be used for the manufacturing process that is occurring within the building, and then any product that is created as a part of that manufacturing process would be exported then out of the building.
So, Lance, can you just expanding on that a little bit? Because, talking to the developer and knowing what they're looking for tenants is great. I mean, it's hard to find. We've had to turn down a lot of interesting light manufacturing because we don't have a 50,000 square foot that's subdivided or 100,000 square foot. And so that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So this is nice in that respect. My concern happens when they get some light manufacturing. It happens 5-10 years go by, somebody goes out of business, they move out, and then suddenly somebody rents it and starts using it as a warehouse. So how does that work when we don't necessarily approve a new tenant? And that's where I get concerned that suddenly a future council finds that there's just warehousing going on.
We, at a building department level, do approve new tenants. Anytime there's a new business that comes in and takes over a space that's been vacated by somebody else, they need to submit a business permit. When that business permit is submitted, it's reviewed for the zoning and to identify whether or not it's allowed in that district. And that comes along with any of the building permit fit-out drawings or changes that they want to make on the inside of the building. If somebody would occupy that unit illegally without submitting that business permit, we have the full authority to go in and stop the business from operating as a warehouse.
And that's, I guess, where because I've seen it, right? But it's usually a small building. It's like, who the hell let that in there, right? So, something like this level, it's going to be seen more, and
Yes.
our Public Works is there. So that's kind of what my concerns were. It doesn't just fall into that kind of use someday in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. What do you guys want to do for agenda? You guys want to put this concept?
Action, please.
Action it is. And then lastly, we've got the Archer Avenue water main.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. One item on the agenda this evening. This is for the Archer Avenue, Mary Knoll Drive water main installation project. So, as I think we've briefly discussed, this would be an extension of an existing water main to provide service to an existing structure. The existing structure has a number of different tenants in it, and some of these tenants do have existing water provided from the city through private main. So there's a private main that extends northward, northeasterly off of Mary Knoll, and it does provide private water access. What this would be a public water access, so this would be public main through a public easement that would extend from Mary Knoll northward. Ultimately, the goal is to extend this all the way up to 151st Street and make a nice loop. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yep, if you guys, if council can turn to, it's the second aerial in your packets. And I apologize for not including this in our PowerPoint here. But the second aerial does show the existing 151st, so it actually would tie into what we spoke about earlier today, the water main that currently terminates at the corner of 151st where the gas station is. That would be the ultimate loop connection. So from Mary Knoll, it would go northeasterly, make that connection. Again, this is a future project. As we get more development in the area, as we get more need in the area, then we would look to extend that water main. But for today, what we're asking for is council's consideration to install about 800 feet of 12-inch water main. This 12-inch water main would take care of the existing tenants and the future tenants, proposed tenants in the existing building. It would also allow for, if a future tie-on by, let's say, George's or the bowling alley were to, to seek that tie-on, we do have adequate capacity in this 12-inch main. And then, like I said, ultimately, if another user were to come between this connection, so the connection that would ultimately be on Northern to 151st, we have capacity for that as well. So this is being installed today for the needs of the future. So if any council has any questions, I would take those at this time.
We are expecting to get about 60 to 80,000 in tap-on fees back from the line that we install, so the net will be a little less, but.
Does that benefit at all the new tenant at the end of the mall there?
It does. This will be actually a significant benefit to them. So rather than putting in the tank for fire flows, this will provide adequate fire flows. We'll actually be installing 3 fire hydrants out adjacent to the facility. So not only internally will it be an improvement, but externally it'll be a significant improvement for our fire flows outside of the building.
Getting a couple new hydrants out there, too.
Looks like it says 4.
Sorry, Joanne, what was that?
There's 4, I think it says, for
Oh, 4,
fire
okay.
hydrants there. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
That's even better.
There's only one there
Well,
now.
that's what it.
Yeah,
county-
the one at the south end would be a replacement, so it's 4 new hydrants, but 3 that are not there currently.
All right.
Does this project then stop at George's? Do we not want to at least take it back out to Archer? And, I mean, what would it cost, how much more? If we're going to be doing this, it would seem like a better place to dead-end the line would just take it all the way out to Archer, because eventually we need to, I would think in time, either get to Northern, past Northern, and out like 151st where the possible gas station might go. So,
Sure.
I mean, I just think it's an odd place to dead end. I think if we're going to do it, we should at least take it out to the Archer and dead end it there. Or even all the way up to Northern as a possible, and talk to George's.
I think-
If you could maybe find out if that's an extra, or what that
Yeah,
extra cost would
I mean, Brent can elaborate more, but I think there's a vault there on Archer, might make it a little interesting to try to go through there by George's. And we're still trying to talk to them about going behind them up to Northern and then out to the other
Okay.
side, if we can get the easement from them, and or if they want to tap on. I don't disagree, getting up to Northern is the goal, but right now, until we get an answer out of them, we could always do it later.
I think one positive is if you did go behind and go up to Northern, then, remember that one guy who came in and was screwed? That would bring the water closer to that property,
Correct.
so, okay.
And we didn't want to take 6 months waiting for an IDOT permit in Archer Avenue either, right now. But duly noted, it's a good idea.
My other question is, this is going to be installed by Lockport. How does this, I know we don't really have a full-time sewer and water crew. How long do you think this project will take, and what will be taking them away from to get this job done?
Good questions. The anticipated schedule from the first tie-in until we're completed, my anticipation is about 2 weeks. We're looking to do that in early May or mid-May. That'll be a good time of year. We'll have all of our basically all of our fire hydrants will have been flushed. Any valves at that point will have been exercised that we plan on exercising. We'll be out of obviously the snow season, which potentially tomorrow or Friday, I guess we're going to get a little bit more snow. I'll be out of those. So the emergency situations, also water main breaks tend to occur in the, kind of coming out of the winter here. So we've had a couple of those. So the hope is that we're doing this at a little bit of a downtime for the water department. Not to say that it's not going to pull them away from things. Yes, it could potentially be pulling them away from, some typical maintenance that we would do. However, the plan will be we're going to take 2 water individuals, so we'll have 2 water operators, and then we'll pull 1 street individual, and we'll pull 1 sanitary individual. So the game plan right now is not to deplete one department fully. It's to, make sure that we have our water operators on site, make sure everything's going appropriately, but then have, our operator, our actual backhoe operator could be from the street department, and then our bottom guy in the trench could be the sanitary guy, for instance.
All right.
Yep.
Is it about a 2 to 3 week project, did you say? How long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks
Yeah.
is all?
2 weeks, yeah.
All right, friends, anything else? Are we good with consent on this? Okay. Very good. Anything on new business? All right. Open floor comments. Forgive me, Mike. If you want to come on up and say what's on your mind.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't know I had to fill out a card. I apologize. I would just like to reiterate with the neighbor to the north, when he said he doesn't have any opposition. He thinks it's a good project for this gas station. We have 5.5 acres across the street from them, and, we don't live there, but we try and maintain it in a decent order. And we believe it'd be an addition to the area, because now basically, if you come down 151st and you gotta get gas, you gotta drive all the way into Lockport, and then say you're going on a tollway, you gotta drive all the way back out. Or you cross the tollway and go to his other gas station. I don't really think, this is America. If a guy wants to build a gas station at both ends of the tollway, I think God bless him, he's a smart man. But I've known this man for a long time, since he built the other gas station. He's a man of his word. And when we had the other meeting, we brought up concerns about the light pollution going into neighbors' houses across the street. He agreed to talk to the landscapers about a berm and a fence, and the people to the north, the berm, and instead of having a 10-foot fence, having what, a 3-foot? They agreed on a 3-foot berm and then a fence on top of that. So he's been totally agreeable and total gentleman about it, and he's a man of his word, and I've been dealing with him for the last couple of years. And, I speak for the members of the American Legion. I think we just make a great improvement to the area. The new intersection, it was agreed upon back then, and the deal was with the water main and everything. And we're all for it. And, instead of having this well water, we had to drill a new well a couple of years ago, and without the gas station there, that water's no good anyway. And we constantly have to filter it. We go through all kinds of filter and osmosis problems. So I think a water main there would be nothing but beneficial for all the neighbors. And if it's done properly with the runoff, I mean, you ought to see it in a downpour. You ought to see the water that runs down through our parking lot and out in the Long Run Creek. And we try to slow it down. That's why we have the grass out in the front yard and the gravel parking lot. Most of it absorbs. But with the infrastructure improvements to that intersection and with the proper construction done to the lanes, and I think it'd be nothing but a bonus to the, and if the gentleman that lives to the north of it for 20-some years got no problem, we sure don't. And I think the council would be wise to approve a plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else for open comments? Okay, then we'll do a motion to adjourn committee
So
of the whole.
moved.
Mark? Second by Pat. All in favor?
All right.
Okay. We'll take a short break, and then we'll do our city council meeting.
You are?
All right, I think we're waiting on Joanne, though.
All right.
I'll just speak on her behalf.
Pound on the bathroom door, Ben. All right, roll call, please, Kathy.
You got it. Saban is absent. Bartleson.
Here?
Lobes.
Here.
Bergbauer.
Here.
Galogly.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Kostecki. Here. We have a quorum.
All right, we're looking for a motion to have a consent agenda tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Who was that sultry voice? Was that? Oh, I didn't know where it came from. So it's Christina. And seconded by who? Sorry. All right, very good. The other sultry voice.
Soft, speak up.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so tonight we're looking for approval for committee of the whole meeting minutes from February 15th, regular city council meeting minutes from the 15th. We're looking for our payroll period ending on February 19th, 3-year agreement with the Mad Bomber Fireworks. There's the amendment to the city code to allow contractor bonds to be forfeited with timely requests. There's the amendment to Chapter 150 for the Historic Preservation Code. There's the facade and site improvement grant for 831 South State. There's the facade and site improvement grant for 829 South State. And then we have accept the quote from Davie Resources Group for the citywide tree survey. So we're looking for a motion to approve those items. All right, Joanne and was that Pat? And can we have a roll call, please?
You got it. Saban is absent. Bartleson.
Yes?
Lobes.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next we're looking for approval for our bills through February 21st. We got a motion? Joanne,
Second.
seconded by Karen. Can we have a roll call?
Saban is absent. Bartleson.
Yes?
Lobes.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
I abstain. The city of Lockport is paying my employer for hydrant parts.
McDonald.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next, we're looking for a motion to approve the proposal from HR Green for the Phase 3 engineering services for the Railroad Quiet Zone, not to exceed $39,949. So we're looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Christina, seconded by JR. Is there any questions or concerns on that? Everybody tight? Okay. Yep, we just got, thank you for your patience, yes. Okay, if everything's square then, we'll do a roll call.
All right, Saban is absent. Bartleson.
Yes?
Lobes.
Yes.
Bergbauer.
Yes.
Galogly.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Kostecki.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, me friends, if there's nothing else, then we'll motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Right on.
Am I doing what?
Are you in the city?
Yeah, I'm trying to.